Hello, Dollar. We're a little bit late. I am coming to you from London, Cheerio, the home of tea and scones. It's been very exciting the last day and a half being here. Needless to say, it's about midnight and I'm a little jet lagged, but I wanted to make sure that I came to you in the spirit of beautiful mindfulness and meditation, especially given that as we speak, Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra are doing a 21-day meditation challenge, which means we're about 4 days in,
Hello,
but for the
beautiful.
next 2 or 3 weeks or so. Hello, Sammy D.
There we are. You
Awesome.
found me. How are you?
I am doing well, and I was just explaining to all of our viewers that I am in London, and I'm so excited to be broadcasting from the oldest city in the world, or one of them anyway. And you know, I was just saying that right now, Oprah and Deepak Chopra are doing a 21-day meditation challenge, and I've been doing that the last 3 days. And if you all haven't joined in, definitely do so. Just look it up online. You can Google either one of them, and you will see this meditation challenge. And it is all about gratitude and grace, and that's really why we're here. You know, on the way over, I was so mindful of how, with every step that I took forward in my journey, when I was aware, mindful, you know, in a space of heartfulness about grace and gratitude, more just flowed my way. And it was so interesting that this 21-day meditation challenge would be going simultaneously. And it would be so evident to me that on my journey, this was actually happening. You know, it was as small as taking the tube and having a small suitcase and somebody just recognizing that I might need some help carrying it up the stairs, you know, and the more that I was so grateful about having that help from perfect strangers, the more it actually came into my world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're here. You know, we're here to learn how to be mindful of that grace and gratitude, and therefore invite more of it into our lives. And Sammy, I know that you are a woman who is all about cultivating that grace and gratitude. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit on how you feel about this whole concept and how you feel it has worked in your life and continues to do so.
Oh my goodness. First of all, Pax, thank you so much for tuning in and calling in from London, 6 hours ahead. You are a night owl. You are mindful of the nighttime. That is what you are. Yes. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And Pax, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sammy Davis. I'm an inspirational speaker on the power of positive energy and conscious living, which, to be honest with all of y'all, conscious living is just another buzzword for mindfulness. And mindfulness is understanding that we are the architects of our own lives, that we create our realities, that we always have a choice in every single moment. Things are never happening against us, they are always happening for us. So let's say, you know, Pax, she had her suitcase and no one was helping her. Well, she gets to learn in that moment to help someone else because she felt isolated, she felt alone. So that's how I like to use positive energy each and every day in my life, because we are here to be beautiful and blessed and grateful for every single moment. But Pax, you know, gratitude, it shows up. I know we're here to talk about mindfulness, and there's so many ways to talk about mindfulness, but on the topic of gratitude, gratitude really is the anchor of happiness, because if we're not grateful for what we have, we're never good enough inside of our minds. We're always fighting for something more. We're always fighting the moment. And there was a time in my life, and that's why I do what I do, because I have a story of being so ambitious that I was never satisfied. I had to move to New York City 3 weeks after I graduated college. I had to work for the biggest magazine. I had to be on the 25th floor, and I was still unsatisfied, because I wasn't mindful, first of all, of who I truly was, but I was so attached to something that wasn't rooted in, honestly, the simple things, the simple, beautiful things of life. So what we're here to teach, and what we're also here to learn, because the teacher is always the student, is that there is so much to be grateful for and to be in that place of abundance and prosperity and joy that has nothing to do with our accomplishments, that has nothing to do with what we look like, what we do, just our way of being. The simple things like tea, like the tea I have right now, and this literally picked out of the trash in New York. Literally, check it out. I picked it out of the trash. It was free. So that's what I would love everyone to take away in this moment is what small things can you be grateful for, because that's true mindfulness.
That is so perfectly stated. You are a goddess. You are a goddess.
You are a goddess. Takes one to know one.
Truly, I mean, I could not have said it better myself, and that's the whole point, right? You know, living in this space of gratitude and gratefulness does just bring more into your life. And many people have heard this, you know, in terms of the secret, right? The law of attraction. The more you live in this space of abundance, you know, I have, thank you, universe. I'll take some more of that. The more it comes to you. Right? And that's just another way to say this. It's the law of attraction. We've heard it in many different ways. But ultimately, the point is that, you know, we are fundamentally made up of an energy of grace and blessing. And so when we live in that realm, we're actually exactly where we need to be. And when we're exactly where we need to be, things just flow. And this is a big part of the reason why I teach and practice mindfulness, because it really does help you get into this space of present moment mindfulness. So having said that, let's now start this evening, this hour that we have together, with a bit of a gratitude practice. So I'm going to have everybody just take a mindful body posture. And that just means that we're going to plant our feet firmly on the ground. So we're grounded. We're going to place our hands either face up on our thighs, and face up is really if you're feeling a little bit low energy and you want to receive a little bit more from the universe, place the palms up. If you're feeling a little frenetic, you know, a little bit over the top and not feeling so grounded, then you want to place the palms down. So choose whichever feels right for you this evening. And then just go ahead and sit tall out of your spine. So really feel your spine elongate from, you know, your tailbone all the way up to your shoulders. And even as you do that, even as you feel your spine elongate, go ahead and relax your shoulders down. And this is a mindful body posture. So you'll feel the space between your head and your shoulders elongate. So that'll get longer. And even as you do, and the shoulders are dropping, you feel your spine is energized. And that in turn then allows that much more oxygen to enter the lungs and really serve you in this breathing, this mindfulness practice. So with your mindful body posture, close your eyes and just turn inward. And begin to focus on your breath, watching your breath, and just noticing. Your only job right now is to notice the breath as you're breathing in and you're breathing out. And just take a moment to really be with the essence of your breath, your life force, this miracle that is your life. And all you're doing is watching your breath as it flows into your body and out again, very naturally, perfectly, right here in the present moment. The reason that we use the breath is because it is here in every moment, present with us. And so the best way to anchor ourselves, you know, to be engaged with our lives as our lives are playing out, is by watching our breath. It's so simple. And that's all we need to do right now. So just focus on your breath as you're taking a breath in and you're exhaling it out. Watching, being, simple. And now, all I'd like you to do is place your awareness on 3 things that you're grateful for in your life. Just 3 things. They can be as simple as this breath you're breathing now, the fact that you made it online to be with us for this practice, or anything else in your day that you feel blessed and grateful for. Take those three things and keep them top of mind. And just look at each one in turn. Observe, be grateful, and infuse every cell of your body with that gratitude for these three things in your life that you appreciate, that you're thankful to have. And just be with those three things, like really soak them up and let every cell in your body feel that appreciation and that gratitude. And for just a few moments, we're going to focus on these three things and be with them and be grateful for them. Now, with those three things in your heart, in your body, in your mind, infusing every cell, say one final thank you for those things that you're grateful for. And let's open our eyes and rejoin this moment. So Sammy, let's have a little powwow about that experience. You know, I love gratitude. I live for gratitude. And on my flight over here, you know, from Philadelphia to London, I could not have been more aware of this idea of gratitude. Reason being that from beginning to end, it was so salient that there were thousands of people and steps and energies involved in executing this one small leap for me. So, you know, whether it was getting to the airport or actually getting on that plane, being on that plane, you know, being fed, the pilot, you know, who had to be so focused to get that plane from Philadelphia to London, crossing an ocean, you know, and then we land safely and I get my bag and I get on the tube and I have my suitcase and I was tired and somebody noticed and helped me bring my bag up the stairs. And I got to my cousin's flat, you know, and they were here and they greeted me. I mean, there were so many steps involved in executing this one desire of mine to be, you know, across the world on a different continent and enjoying the beauty that is this life. And it was in those moments, you know, in the run up to this meetup that I was just blown away by grace and gratitude. And simultaneously, as I mentioned, Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra are having this 21-day meditation experience. And it was so convergent with the space I was in. And as I've been meditating, you know, and jet lagged and so aware of my mind processes, that was even more grace and gratitude, just to realize that as I've been practicing this stuff, it's getting that much easier to notice what's going on in my mind. And when I'm noticing and when I'm aware, I'm that much more able to then take control of the way that my mind may wander, bring it back to the present moment and focus again. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's been my experience the last, let's say, 48 hours since I arrived here. And Sammy, I know that you are a woman that lives in this space. So I'm curious to hear from you how you felt about, you know, the last minute or two of this gratitude practice and how you feel about it in general.
First of all, Pax, thank you so much for sharing your experience, because I visualized the pilot getting his food and visualized the people picking up your baggage to put it on the conveyor belt. I think that's what they call it, the conveyor belt that takes it around outside. Just, you're so right. There's so many things that happen to operate life, and that there's truly never an excuse to not feel connected to the world, because the world is so connected to you. So thank you for offering that to me. I am grateful to have felt that energy from you. But the practice of gratitude and meditation combined is so, 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 so powerful. I absolutely loved your meditation from the point of view that it is so easy for anyone tuning in tonight to do that in the morning and to do that at night. That was 3 minutes. I have meditated for 10 days and 90 hours before. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat in April, and it was a whole other level, but we sometimes get scared by seeing those experiences and thinking that we can't incorporate it into our lives, but it's like a drop of ink. And when you drop that ink into your mug or a bathtub or a pool, it's going to spread. So with that understanding, the smallest bit helps. And what I have found with this practice that we just did, so my experience and my truth in this moment about this practice is that two very important people showed up for me, and then abundance showed up for me. And the ironic part is that two of the three I've been struggling with, but I chose gratitude. I chose gratitude for them because I know that in struggling a little bit, it's because these things matter. These are things that matter to me, and that, as you said so beautifully, Pax, the more that we show appreciation for what we have, actually the more that it shows up. So the more that I show appreciation for my boyfriend, for example, the more that he shows appreciation for me. It's a two-way street. It's a circle. Our way of being can so subconsciously influence another person. I know many people here have probably experienced, oh, I was thinking of you. How did you just text me in this moment? I was just thinking of you. But it's because your vibration is so connected to that person. And the second person I thought of was my mother, who has just showed up for me and showed up for me and showed up for me. And I'm 29 years old, and sometimes I think, you don't need to show up for me like that. But I am grateful. And I am so grateful for her, even in moments when I was not grateful for her in the past, as we have all experienced. And it's important for me when I feel that gratitude to express it to her, because she might need to hear that too, because we never know what's going on in that person before us. And then abundance in general, I think all of us here can say we'd always like more money, we'd always like more numbers in the bank account, but abundance is a general way of being. It is a sense of security. It is a sense of being loved. It is, I mean, not even a sense, it is a truth. It is a truth of security, a truth of being loved, a truth that things are always getting better. And when I sit in stillness and meditate on abundance, the craziest things will happen for me. So I know from past experiences that there's a direct connection between just thanking God for money, or thanking your higher power, or thanking whatever shows up for me, shows up for you as the source, and it shows up. It just shows up. And that's why they like to say, just let it go and receive. The hard part is letting go. The hard part is letting go and being patient. But it's a beautiful, beautiful practice, and then life always shows up as a beautiful surprise of exactly what you need. And we always get exactly what we need if we choose to see it that way, and if we choose to declare it that way in every single moment. So gratitude is it. Without gratitude, we are not guided, and as you say so beautifully, we're not grace.
Absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit more about that, right? Because that is a very fundamental concept. Living in grace, it may seem like a bit of a nebulous, ethereal concept to people. So what does that mean? I live with gratitude and I live with grace, and that means more will come. What does that mean? And it's hard to abide by that, right? And fundamentally, it does boil down to faith.
Right.
You have to have faith in the idea that everything that's playing out in your life is meant to be as it is. Yeah. And that really does also come back to living in the present moment. When you're in the present moment, when you're fully engaged with everything as it's happening to you and for you, and that's the point, it's for you, then you do receive more of what's good for you. And often, in our minds, like this human mindset is, it has to feel really good. Like it's got to have one of a couple of different natures. And that is like, I've got a big smile on my face, right? Or like life is completely infused with joy, or it doesn't feel like work. And that's, I think, where we need to really start to educate ourselves, on the fact that more often than not, the grace comes in the hardship. It comes in the challenge, right? So the things that actually serve us the most feel the hardest, and we reject them. We defy them, because we feel like they're hard. And so woe is me, why is this happening to me? We feel like a victim. And in point of fact, in retrospect, we always see that it was those things that were so pivotal in our growth. And that's what has made us better human beings. And that's what allows us to take these leaps in growth. When things are very simple and they're just kind of run of the mill and flowing, we're not satisfied. And not only are we not satisfied, we're not really growing to our fullest potential. It's really when we have hardships. And I know that, we've all had those in our lives. And at some point, we start to get this concept of post-traumatic growth versus post-traumatic stress, right? So now, as someone that studied positive psychology, and positive psychology is the science of what enables individuals and communities to thrive. So instead of focusing on what's going wrong, focusing on pathologies, we're actually focusing on strengths. We're focusing on what we do well and capitalizing on that. And a part of that means that as life is playing out, you're not embracing this idea of post-traumatic stress. It's a very old world view now. It's very like old school traditional psychology. We focus on the illness, post-traumatic stress. You sit in my office for 20 years and we talk about the why. Positive psychology is all about, okay, we're acknowledging something happened. There's a why to it. That's fine. Where are we going from here? And that's post-traumatic growth. How are we going to take every experience that happens in our lives, especially those experiences that are fundamentally the most difficult, and how are we going to see those as growth opportunities? And that is something that I wanted to talk about tonight, because I know that you connect to forgiveness and the idea of forgiveness. And forgiveness really, is about growing. We're not forgiving when someone transgresses on us because, we want to make sure they have a better life. It's actually more selfish than that. It's about us. When we forgive, we allow ourselves the freedom to let go of that thing that we were holding on to. And along with that comes anger, frustration, sadness, anxiety. And these are not things that serve us. And we know that. So let's talk about forgiveness a little bit, Sammy.
Oh my goodness, the big F word, the F-bomb, forgiveness. Oh my goodness. And I know, right? Yeah, you gotta throw in that like gang sign there, spiritual
big
gangster.
F you, but in a good way.
Oh my goodness. So in my book, Love Your Life, which I did want to, that's me, see? I did want to show this off, Love Your Life. I do talk a lot. Thank you. I love your life. It's the hashtag I use for everything, even if it doesn't make sense. Ice cream cone, love your life. But this is so on time, Pax. And to everyone tuning in, I'm going to be so vulnerable right now, and I'm so excited that I get to be vulnerable. So forgiveness. There is forgiveness of others, and there's forgiveness of ourselves. And I know that what women struggle with the most is actually forgiveness of themselves, because whether we would like to admit it or not, we have been raised to be people pleasers. And so we're constantly hard on ourselves to continue to please external sources. So forgiveness for me has showed up beautifully today, and it was a beautiful lesson of growth and knowing what to do next that is actually even more to my benefit than if I hadn't ever had the breakdown at all. So breakdown to breakthrough. We've all heard it before, but you only get smarter when things get harder, which is exactly what you're talking about, Pax. So I'm in a new committed relationship, and it's my first committed relationship in 10 years, and it is teaching me so much about what love really is. I thought I knew. I had no idea. I thought I loved myself. I get to still work on that, and I'm excited. And what has been showing up for me is a lot of, when times get tough with my partner, a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of feelings of not being adequate enough, a lot of feelings of, can I really do this? Am I strong enough? Like, I'm really, really strong at that business stuff, and I can, like, go run 5 miles and stuff. Like, that's easy. Maybe I should just stay there. So it's like that ledge, right? And you're, like, kind of jumping it, but you still want to go back. Today in particular, I wanted to not jump from the ledge. I just wanted to go back to the easy green pastures. and in being in the moment, as you talk about Pax, and to the best of my ability, because we still will sometimes think to the future, think to the past. Okay, what can I do now for self-care? What can I do now for partnership care? And I exercised what I knew, which was I know about myself. I need a little bit of stillness. Not a little bit, but I need some stillness, some time to find myself, find my breath, find my center, so that I can speak from a place of love, so that I can communicate from a place of love. Because so often we get defensive, so often we have these egos that are bruised, and that's what's speaking instead. So that's my mindfulness practice, and I used that today, and it was so hard because leading up to it, I still wasn't forgiving myself. But I knew what I had to do, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to continue to go there with my partner, to be vulnerable, to also say to him, you're right about this. Like we both get to talk about it from a place of improvement, but you're right. And really, again, this is not the point of this conversation, but really just breaking through that ego, which wants me to just go and make everything perfect and not face a hard situation for growth. It just really wants me to take that, stage door to the left, exit. And having this conversation with my partner literally at 5 o'clock today at 7:36 Eastern Standard Time, we created potential for growth. We agreed to some beautiful things for the future. He acknowledged things, I acknowledged things. He told me he loves me more now, which again, I get to really take that in and meditate on that to continue to fill myself up with love, so that I know, and again, this is what you're talking about, Pax, from a place of mindfulness. I'm not going to focus on my faults. I'm going to focus on the good things. Sammy is very strong. She may get to work on her emotional strength, but she has proven in so many areas. So thank you, universe, for giving me this gift of improving in this area. And that's the perspective that with mindfulness and gratitude practices and meditation practices, and maybe even, your own, I know we're going to talk about this later, but journaling, when we reach that place of forgiveness of ourselves, we're able to be enlightened to the bigger picture of what's really showing up. And we're able to take our strengths and use our strengths as motivation to improve our, quote, weaknesses. But it's never easy. And that's the other thing that in my mindfulness practices, I'm like, this is not supposed to be easy. But that's the thing, it's soul's growth. And when we cherish that soul's growth and we go, okay, I'm stepping into grace, thank you. I'm stepping into grace, thank you. It becomes a blessing and not a curse. And we always have the choice. Last night it was such a curse, let me tell you. Today it was a blessing.
Yeah.
So that is what I have to say about forgiveness.
Oh my God, I dig it.
Yes.
I love every word that you spoke. And I asked you this, and invited you to be here specifically because you have such elevated insight on this topic and many others. Forgiveness is a very difficult thing for most people to grapple with. It really is. And I get asked this a lot. I don't even understand this concept of forgiveness. Like, what do you mean I should forgive myself first? And what do you mean forgiveness is really for me? And then beyond that, when I do that, when I forgive, how am I really stepping into grace, and taking this next step forward? And your example highlights it perfectly. And I'll give one of my own just so that our listeners and our viewers going forward can really abide by this in their own way, hopefully, by virtue of our example. So when I was about 14 years old, I went through a crazy depressive episode, and I sunk deep, and it was a very, very difficult time in my life. And what occurs to me now is that, as a result of that depression, I continued to berate myself. Not only was I was I depressed and struggling. I hated myself for it. And now, this many years later, I realize that it's exactly those experiences that have led me to this path, which is service, right? Which is having recognized that I could succumb to life events like that, you know, and now I recognize it, and I can help other people recognize the same. And that is the most beautiful gift that I think we could be given. And it's a gift that's not often something that plays out unless we have something so personal to push us onto that path, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I've been there and I know it. And I would just really love if nobody else had to go through that ever again. It's that form of connection that can only happen when you have some personal experience with pain. So we all reject pain. You know, it feels uncomfortable. And that's the interesting thing. The more we embrace it, you know, that's what grace is. The more we actually can serve other people and not having to go through the same thing. And so it really does start with forgiving yourself for having an experience and for feeling sad or feeling upset. And maybe life slows down a little, right? We live in an era that's so fast-paced. It's so do. And you may have heard this before. We're human beings. We're not human doings. We are really meant to just be in this moment, appreciating this miracle that is our life. You know, we're souls in these bodies, and that's a miracle. Like the fact that we can actually like live and just be on this planet and experience it. And we lose sight of that so quickly because we're so like, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And we forget to take out that not or negative and just be like, I am alive. I am breathing. And that's another reason why we practice with the breath and we come back to it over and over to be in this present moment, to teach us, to remind us that in and of itself, just taking another breath is a miracle.
And with that, I took another breath.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, they always say that pain, or not they, but I would say my spirit tells me that pain is the greatest connector because happiness brings people together, but pain is what creates relationships for a lifetime. And it's truly those women and men, you know, in my life who have seen me at my worst and still love me and would do anything for. Yeah. So it's also that place of forgiveness helps you to open up and just, you know, don't fight the fear, don't fight the anger, don't fight it. It's part of your process, and trusting the process can be very hard because, like you said, we just want to reject the pain and go back to our green pastures of daisies and sunflowers, like me today. So, yeah.
Yeah, so let's address that for another minute or two before we go into another practice. You know, it's the perfect segue to talk about, you know, that internal state of being, the pain, right? And wanting to reject it versus permission to be human. This idea of permission to be human is majorly on my radar these days just because it's not something that we really organically know how to do. And it's something that we really have to understand how to do in order to embrace it and therefore derive some benefit from it. So what is this whole concept about? Like embracing pain, permission to be human. We are human beings, and therefore we have hormones, we have chemicals, we're energy systems, right? And we so often forget in this quest to be perfect that there are all of these subtleties, you know, these energies about us and through us. I mean, we are just all made up of the same chemicals and hormones, et cetera, et cetera. And that makes us human, and that makes us beautiful, because as a result of those hormones and chemicals and systems, we are able as souls to embody love on this planet, to embody sadness when we see transgression on another being, another human being, an animal, what have you. And that makes us these beautiful bodies and beings. And so why would we reject the fact that, you know, we're human and we make mistakes? You know, we're not these perfect beings that we try to strive for. It's not reality. Reality is actually being these systems that play out a certain way, and it's all perfect. It's all good, you know, and that's a big part of mindfulness too, accepting, and that's grace, being in the present moment, accepting life as it's flowing out because it's exactly as it should be. And that permission to be human is, I think, what we really need to bring ourselves back to, in particular because, you know, if you're not going to do it for you, then do it for everybody that you love and care about, and beyond that, the whole universe at large. And the reason is because when you know how to go into a space of being human and forgiving yourself for all of those things that make you human in order to love yourself, you know, you can tap into feelings of anger, feelings of joy, feelings of sadness, sexual urges, you know, all of these different things that we so often judge in our systems and our bodies, and yet we crave because they're fundamentally human. When we can connect all of those things in ourselves, and we can label them, and we know them, then we can recognize them in somebody else. And when we can recognize them in somebody else, we have compassion for their experience because we're living it ourselves. And when we can have compassion, all negative states of being are immediately diminished, whether it's anger or aggression, you know, feelings of upset. All of these emotions are immediately ramped down just because now we're taking pause to say, I have that in me. You have that in you. We're the same. You know, and that's really what happens with a practice like this. You really just bring it down to some fundamental level of humanity, and that's what it's all about. That is why, you know, the Dalai Lama says that if we teach every 8-year-old how to meditate now, we will eradicate violence from the planet in 1 generation. And he says it for exactly that reason. When you can recognize your own fallibility as a human being and you embrace it and you love it, you can do the same for another being.
Yeah. And then we lose the pain of judgment, of being wronged against, of wanting to win a situation. What are you really winning? That's the question I like to ask myself in those mindfulness moments. Dear ego, what are you trying to win for me? I don't really see it. You're trying to convince me, but I don't really see it. So thank you for that. That was so beautiful to see the person before us as ourselves is the miracle, and that's all it takes in those moments. And even in a hard moment, a hard conversation, a moment of pain because of anger, or perhaps some, you know, just moment that just like you're not liking, if you can just in that moment shift to see that person as exactly who you are, the compassion will rise, and you can make a more mindful decision as to how to be for the rest of that situation. It's amazing. I've done it with my own partner, where I've just shifted halfway through the conversation. So all is never lost. You always have a choice.
Choice. Choice is good. So on that note, let's do another quick mindfulness practice. So let's close our eyes, take a mindful body posture. So again, that means feet are planted firmly on the ground. And even as you're relaxing your whole body, your spine is long and strong. You're feeling the space between your head and your shoulders just get longer. So your shoulders are just melting down toward the earth. Allow that to be and really revel in that. It's a good feeling. And then with your eyes closed, just turn inward again, coming back to your breath. Inhales and exhales. And just really turning inward and allowing yourself to be fully present with your breath. Focusing your attention on the breath as it's carried into your body and back out again. And it's okay if your mind is wandering, feeling distracted tonight. Just try to stay with us right here in this moment, using your breath as the perfect anchor point for this momentary engagement. And just really try to revel in your breath as it's happening right now. You need not be pulled toward the future, dragged into the past. The only place you really have to be is right here, right now. And as you focus on your breath and your inhales and exhales, this present moment, allow yourself to observe if any emotions are arising in your body. Possibly anger, perhaps anxiety, maybe joy, I hope so, sadness, elation, ecstasy, whatever it is, just notice. And as you notice the particular emotion that's coursing through your body, label it. So if it's anger, look at it, notice it, and then 3 times label it. Anger, 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 or any other emotion that you may be feeling. And you'll probably find that as you label it, it'll dissipate. And in labeling it, you're noticing it and giving it your full attention, which is exactly where we want to be. Allowing every experience, every emotion, every thought to just have its time and to immerse in it, to just soak in it, to be with it. So for the next moment or two, without judgment, just notice what you feel and give it a label 3 times. Of course, as you label each emotion, you can then put it aside and then be with your breath again until the next emotion arises. If none does, lovely, just be with your breath right here in the present moment. If an emotion or feeling does arise, again, label it 3 times as it is, and then come back to your breath again. Now, releasing that practice, allowing ourselves to just take one big breath in, huge breath in, all the way into the base of the lungs, and exhale it all the way out. Then gently blink the eyes open again. And Sammy, let's just talk about that for a moment. You know, what that felt like, what that experience was like, allowing emotions to arise, labeling them, you know, watching them, labeling them, and then allowing them to move on their way. What did that feel like for you?
That was a really wonderful demonstration of how our emotions are always changing, and to be a witness of all of those emotions. And when we're able to be a witness, then we're not so attached to it, right? We're not held down by it as if we're sinking in the sea. We're more looking down on it, noticing it, perhaps experiencing it, but not allowing it to take over so that we sink below the depths of that water. And it's very similar to a meditation practice that I get to plug in here really fast. I have done Vipassana, which is the meditation as established by Buddha, passed down over centuries, reignited maybe 1960s, 1970s, and there's a great institute in North America and around the world, but I know most of us are tuning in from North America, that is free. It is donation only. So you go and you actually learn the practice of associating meditation with pain around your body, which the pain will actually present itself. It'll be a tingle, it'll be like a electric bolt. It will present itself as your emotions change. And through this practice, and these are 10-day silent retreats, so you're meditating a lot. But in the practice, you notice, oh my gosh, as soon as I feel this, my body actually reacts, but you learn to just watch it. And then the pain goes away. And as the pain goes away, so does the emotion. So it literally like rewires your brain to be more of a witness of, quote, the pain, physical. And there's so much more to it than that, but I recommend everyone look up Vipassana meditation, and you'll find the Dharma Institute, I believe it's called. But this has been such a powerful practice for me, even in just the moment where, whether we can meditate or not, we can just take a deep breath and go, okay, what am I feeling? Because if we don't know what we're feeling, we're reacting and not responding. And once we know what we're feeling, so, okay, I'm feeling nervous. Okay, I'm feeling insecure. Okay, I'm feeling uncertain. That came up for me in my practice. We can look at it and we can make a choice based off of looking at it like a fork in the road. I can go this way or I can go that way. But it only happens when we stop. And so being a witness to our emotions allows us to stop, because, as you say, we don't have to keep doing to be effective. We are beers. And so in choosing that state of being, we are actually being more intentional and, quote, more productive with our decisions, our choices, our emotions, which is a little counterintuitive because we're taught to just keep moving. So whether or not you incorporate any meditation practices into your day, whether it's 2 minutes to 20 minutes, you can meditate, quote unquote, find mindfulness literally by stopping and choosing to think to yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? And this is serving me. Or how do I use this to create a set of circumstances or change the reality so that it does serve me or serve the people, situation that I'm in?
Yes, girl. Okay, so that's perfect. I mean, you have outlined exactly why. You know, this is so important for us human beings. The idea of taking the pause, you know, and not reacting. Most people don't know that the shelf life of an emotion is actually 90 seconds. So
that's awesome.
You know, we're sitting here having this conversation, and maybe something said, and I'm a little angry about it. 90 seconds is all it takes for that anger to flood through my body, you know, and it's just chemicals. It's a product of chemicals and chemical reactions in my body, and then to dissipate. And if we were to just wait 90 seconds and we allowed it to dissipate, we gave pause, we almost wouldn't be able to connect to the anger. And that's what we call non-reactivity. Not reacting, you know, flash reactions of say, let's say it's like anger. You throw a punch, you know, that's your first instinct. And now we're already too far gone, you know, to even interact as human beings who can be compassionate to each other's experiences. But if something is said, you know, in a space of hostility or anger, and we allow those emotions to dissipate, You know, the reaction of the hormones and the chemicals don't actually allow us to throw that punch. It doesn't get to the muscles. If we allow our minds to focus and stop and not be reactive before our arm can swing, we're sitting there, we allow it to dissipate, and then we say, okay, that was anger. I've been there before, you know, that's why we practice. That's why I did this practice just before this, to what anger feels like, or what sadness feels like, you know, or the spectrum of emotions that we're capable of experiencing, because it's only when we know how to tap into that that we can label it, we can see it in somebody else. And then we allow ourselves that pause. And we can come at the other person exactly as we're meant to come at them, which is as another human being, exactly like us. Because fundamentally we're the same. You know, and that's the point of all of this. None of us like to throw punches. None of us like to wallow in sadness and depression. We don't want to be in that state of being. And the only way to get out of it is to recognize what's happening. The only way to make our planet better is to recognize those same things in each other, have compassion ultimately for that process, so that we're all navigating this earthly journey together in that space, as opposed to thinking that we're all, you know, fighting some battle that the other person doesn't know anything about. And that's what gets us into trouble. Yeah. So, you know, given that it's about 8 o'clock and I want to be respectful of your time and allowing everyone to kind of go about their way this evening, I'm just going to take a few more minutes to ask you, Sammy D, what 3 takeaways you give to viewers tonight?
Oh my gosh, and thank you so much for that beautiful share, because my heart is full of love right now. So I feel amazing, and that means I know that everyone else is feeling amazing, and so are you. So thank you. I would say the 3 takeaways that are really resonating with me right now are truly to stop, drop, and get grateful. That just came up for me. Something that I like to do that I will encourage everyone to do in this moment is to just look around the room and feel grateful. Feel grateful for your possessions. It's as easy as that. So wherever you can find small moments of gratitude, the practice will become subconscious, and you will begin to be grateful for all the blessings that you have, big and small, and they will continue to flow toward you. Number 2, mindfulness is about choice, and how do we create choice in our lives. We talked about a lot of different ways to create choice, but first and foremost, I would like everyone in this moment to just, you know, pretend that, you know, we have an artist palette, and we are pulling it away to a fresh new page. And this fresh new page is you. You get to let go of any of the residue that you still may be carrying. I have to do this sometimes because I realize that I'm still carrying a weight. Because the past does not matter. So you can forgive yourself of all of that. Whether you're, you know, so far into your spiritual practice or just beginning, I don't care. We all get to have a blank piece of paper in this moment. So forgive yourself first, so that you can have each moment as a fresh moment that allows you this choice of what serves you and what serves the world, right? Number 3, we talked just now, so I'm going to reiterate it, but meditation and taking a breath, or even just feeling our feet. Like right now I have this wooden floor here in New York City, and I'm staring at it and feeling my feet on the ground. These are all practices of recentering, of feeling like a human being and not a human doer, of having some greater consciousness that we exist. And that is something to carry throughout the day. That is looking in someone's eye. That is taking that deep breath if there's a hard conversation that's happening. That is finding 20 minutes over lunch to meditate. It's awareness. So whenever you can practice awareness, I mean, even like feeling the tea go down your, all of these are beautiful moments to come back to yourself. And when you come back to yourself, you have greater strength to, I don't want to say control, but create, to create yourself. so that you truly are the architect of all of your experiences from a place of grace. And Pax, I think that you may have frozen my side. So if you see me, you're frozen for me, so feel free to carry on the conversation so that all of our listeners can have an awesome closing.
Hello all. So it seems like we had a bit of a technical snafu, but I hope you enjoyed tonight's mindfulness meetup. Rounded out with the beautiful Sammy D. She is so powerful and forceful as an energy, and so many good words and thoughts that she shared with us tonight. So I'm so in gratitude for her being with us, and I hope you enjoyed and derived a good amount from tonight's session. Stay with me every month for mindfulness meetups online and locally in Philadelphia. And also the 21-day meditation challenge that Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra are conducting as we speak, that will get you completely in the space of gratitude and mindfulness. And of course, again, stay with me to learn more about these fundamental concepts to your flourishing. I wish you pip pip cheerio from London, and I will see you back stateside soon. Take care. Be mindful.